Welcome to News and Views. I'm Danae Jones and it's my pleasure to bring you this week's segment. Today we're at the Chambers with Sam Marino, LNP candidate for Cairns. Welcome to News and Views, Sam.
Good to be here, Danae. Good to see you.
I know, it's been a little while, but gosh, we've known each other for years.
You know, it's a long, long time, and I know your mother, and I've known her longer. Whenever I needed paint, that's how it all started, you know.
Yeah.
She'd always give me the best advice, you know, and it was always back to Kim. Yeah. I need some advice with this, Kim. So, yeah.
Oh, she's very good with her interior decorating and her colour schemes, my mother. And obviously you've got a history with NQEA, back with my father.
That's right.
Back when you were a much younger lad.
That's right, less grey hair.
We all had less grey hair.
But you know, that was a fantastic time, NQEA.
Yeah. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that because I know off camera we've been talking about diversifying the economy. But I guess from your perspective, you know, you're running for the seat of Cairns. It is a really tough fight out there. And we're having a bit of a up close and personal with Sam Marino and letting people see who you are as a person, not just as a political candidate. What made you want to run for politics? Because this is your second time round now.
Exactly. And well, I don't take on anything easy. You know, I never had. And I'm the type of person that doesn't give up. And yeah, I ran for Cairns last time. Now this is a 100-year Labor seat, and but it shows because whenever you've got a party that's always representing the same seat year after year, and you have a government is of the same ilk, the government's just going to say, well, we're not going to try too hard here because we're going to keep holding that seat, and that's part of my motivation to run, because Cairns is always missing out.
And so on that, about Cairns always missing out, I know there's been some figures that have been trotted around about how much we've missed out, and we've really lacked in terms of per head of population for funding, haven't we?
Yeah, we're the lowest spend per person in the state for infrastructure spending. So if you want a buoyant economy, and you need a partnership between private enterprise and government, and we're just not getting the government input here. And you know, it annoys me, and I saw this when I was Chamber President. And it really hit home to me that, you know, we're getting left behind here. And you hear all the stories about the southeast corner of Brisbane and Townsville, and they're true. And the council has done a fantastic job in Cairns with, you know, the city looks great, but underneath that, there's some real issues, and a lot of that is fed by that lack of infrastructure spending by this Labor government.
So in terms of diversifying the economy, obviously with COVID hitting, it's really highlighted just how much we need to pay attention in that area, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen what's happened with the tourism industry, our amazing tourism industry, but we need other pillars for our economy to thrive and to shore up our position for within different industries, when you'll see one industry fall away and another industry can pick up the slack. Yep. And the marine industry is a very important part of our economy. And you made an announcement recently about a synchro lift here in Cairns. Yeah, $20 million for a synchro lift down at the Port Precinct. Fantastic announcement. What that will mean for us is that it'll take us to the next level to refit quite large super yachts and Navy vessels. And Navy vessels is probably the more important one that we're looking at. And that synchro lift will lift 7,000 tonne.
Wow. You know,
of boat. And that's a fair swag, and that will be a game changer for our marine precinct. It will create a hell of a lot of jobs, and the great thing about it being here is Cairns is perfectly positioned. And Darwin is looking at it at the moment, and they're actually preparing for it. So we need to beat them at this.
Absolutely.
But we are perfectly positioned. We've got a good sized Navy base here, and there's a lot of Navy work that we can get.
Absolutely, and I know the federal government has said that they are happy to give us the sustainment work going forward. So I think that that's a great announcement that you know we're bolstering up our capacity there at the Marine Precinct. I know it's something that the Cairns Marine Precinct operators have been pushing for some time. So congratulations on making that.
Thank you. And I've been talking to the marine operators for quite some time, and this is a great announcement, and it's great for Cairns, and you know, and it's really good for having a diversified economy.
Absolutely, and I know we were chatting to each other about the NQEA days, right?
Yeah.
You know, everybody who's a local remembers that era where we were employing so many people, the amount of apprenticeships that came out of that institution, and it really was an institution here in Far North Queensland. I guess we're not going to necessarily go back to that, but there's no reason why we can't develop our marine precinct and really create more jobs.
Absolutely, you know, and when I was at NQEA, we were building the Fremantle class patrol boats, and I worked with your dad.
Yep.
And NQEA employed 900 plus people, and they trained countless apprentices. And I don't know how many of those, I can't even count them, how many of those apprentices are now in senior positions.
All running their own businesses.
Yeah, or running their own businesses. I mean, and it was just, talk about seeding the population, seeding with tradesmen. And the commitment that NQEA gave was fantastic. So we've got a lot of trained people out of that whole period, and it was great for our economy because there was a real good flow-on effect. They call it trickle-down effect throughout our economy. And in those times there, I remember everybody just spoke about how good it was, and everybody had dollars in their pockets. They all had jobs. You know, it was just a fantastic time, and we can do that again. And we, by bolstering and supporting our marine precinct, I mean, that in itself will just buffer us, you know, from any other issues that we have down the track. Diversification is where we need to be. And
I know Defence are obviously looking to spend more money. The federal government's looking to spend more money in the defence space, and there's also the air and land side of the defence aspect that we haven't really even tapped into yet. So I think that the Marine Precinct investment opens the doors for more and more conversations in that space, don't you think?
Absolutely. We see in 51st Battalion, when I was an Army Reservist, it was a really small footprint here, but now it's getting, 51st is getting bigger and bigger. There are more soldiers on the ground and in the Cape. So we're becoming a very, very strategic place, Cairns is.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the politics the way it is out there globally at the moment, when you talk about the strategic importance of our community, I think that there isn't a more important time for us to really be having those conversations. I know that they're certainly having that at a political level at the federal government arena at the moment.
That's right, and the Navy, not only is it good for our security, but the multiplying effect by the investment that the Navy and the Australian federal government makes here, I mean, is tremendous, and it affects pretty well every business in town, and exponentially. So, which is fantastic, and that's what you need to do.
And coming back to state issues, you've been campaigning very, very hard about crime in our city. Now, I'm a fourth generation local. Your family goes back a very long way in this town as well. I haven't seen crime so bad. I've got to be honest with you. What do you think that you can do to change it?
Well, Danae, I've met with a lot of people, and the first thing that leaves their lips is crime. And there's that, they talk about the rotating door and the slap on the wrists and the repeat offenders. And the first thing that we will do is bring back breach of bail. And at the moment, breach of bail was removed by the state Labor government. And that created that rotating door of offenders. And I've spoken to people that have been broken into 4 and 5 times and their cars stolen. They're scared in their homes at wit's end. But by bringing back breach of bail as a start, there'll be consequences for their actions. So then that will stop that rotating door. And there's certainly a lot of other things that we'll be doing, because once they're on bail, there'll be 24/7 monitoring, and then if they've If they've breached bail 3 times, then they go into a detention centre. But those detention centres aren't going to be holiday camps either. They'll be places where they'll learn, they'll be mentored. It won't be a holiday camp. And if they still have problems, we're going to have community farms. That's where they'll be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They'll be working hard all day. They'll be taught those values that we hold dear, and most of the communities that they come from hold dear as well.
Yep.
But
and
we're
I
going to
think
look
that's
at
important.
Yeah, it's very important. But we're going to look at the source of the problem as well.
Yep.
Because we find that most of the offenders have been identified through child safety, and so we're actually changing and working through that department. It's a 9 till 5 department at the moment, and we'll change the structure and make it 24/7.
Yep.
And then we'll be able to get in to the homes and see what are the issues, what do the parents, do they need help? Are the parents fit to be looking after these kids? Because we've got to think of the kids. I mean, they need a good start just like we did. They need that love and nurturing just like we got. And we're finding that's the problem, that's the source of the problem.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's so refreshing to hear you say that. And I guess coming into politics, you know, people enter politics for all different reasons, but you've certainly made your money already. You're a business owner, you've got multiple properties in town. I mean, your family's been around for a long time. You certainly haven't entered this race to enter politics to make money.
Not at all.
So what's driving you?
I do a lot of work in the community, and I have done for quite some time. And what happens to the people of Cairns is important to me. And I just hate it when they get a raw deal. And you're right, I don't have to do this, I want to do it. And my wife says to me, you know what, why don't you just sit at home and put your feet up on the couch? But I've been driven since I was a little boy, you know, and I ran last time and I missed out, but I've still got work to do. And that's why I'm running this time. I turned it into a marginal seat, and I'm working really hard to be the next member for Cairns, because we need a change and we need a new set of eyes. We need someone, and I was always taught not to talk about your successes and not to brag, but I have been successful. I've been successful in life and in business, and I want to bring those successes into this role because I'm results driven. I'm not into the big talk. I'm into the action and getting things done.
So Sam, your background is certainly not politics. There was not a political bone in your body up until recently. So can you explain to our viewers who don't know you that well where you're coming from?
Well, Danae, I started as an apprentice electrician when I left school in grade 10. I started in McLeod Street for FNQEB, which is now Ergon. And so I worked as an electrician in a number of industries, which gave me a good broad base of experience. So I worked at NQEA on the Fremantle class patrol boats but other marine work. Worked in electrical contracting. I was an instrument electrician at Babinda Sugar Mill, which is no longer there. Yeah. But also 15 years at Kidston Gold Mine in the mining industry as an electrician and a team leader. And so I'm acutely aware of the benefits that these industries gave to our region. But the other thing that was, once I finished with the mining, I didn't want to go away anymore because I was fly in, fly out. So I ended up going into business for myself, and that's when I bought Beacon Lighting, the model, to Cairns and developed that business. And
it's very successful.
And 17 years now, and which is fantastic. One of the things that I've been told I do well is build good teams around me, and I built a good team. And
you
I
have a great team at Beacon.
Yep. And quite a number of my team have been with me for a long, long time. You know, so which is fantastic. But when I went into that business, I didn't want the business to be me. I didn't want to be working in the business because I do a lot of community work on a number of non-for-profit boards. So what I was able to do was build that good team, but it allowed me to do my community work, but it allowed me to go back to school. So I've got an MBA, a Master of Business Administration.
Yeah, you did do the Masters. That's right, I remember.
At JCU, and a graduate certificate in accounting, and I'm a graduate of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. So it formalised a lot of what I knew in business. So my experience is broad-based, not only in industry, and I understand what it's like at the coalface, but in business through my business, but also academically. The other thing too is through my community work, just the community side of things. And you know, I'm the former past president of Cairns Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, you are.
But also I'm the president of Kazali's as well. And I just love what Kazali's does for our community. Because being a non-for-profit and all that money just goes back to our community and enriches people's lives and other sporting clubs. And you know, I just love nothing better than to be there when I see the glow on people's faces, when you know that their child can go to that national event, you know, and compete, or that sporting club that's been waiting for that equipment and trying to save up for that equipment, and we've been able to give them the leg up to get it, you know, just fantastic. So community is very important to me, but like I said, I've got a very good broad base of experience and successes, you know.
No, you do, and I think that that's very unique in politics. There's some people that are just career politicians, and I think that's one thing I've really liked about you is you have had all of that background coming into the political arena, and I think that that's important as we lead into these times, having that level of experience behind you.
Yeah. No, I just love Cairns. I love Cairns for the people and for my family.
One last question. I know the Cairns Show Association is something very close to your heart, and there's been a bit of an announcement around that. Can you explain to our viewers what does Sam Marino hope to deliver if he becomes a member for Cairns for the Cairns Show?
Well, we've all been to the show. I mean, Cairns Regional Show is the largest show in Australia, regional show, and it's the biggest community event that we have, and I just love going to the show. I loved it when I was a kid.
Me too.
And you know what? The great thing about having kids of your own is because you go back again. The great thing about the Cairns Show and what the Cairns Show epitomises to me is always the grandstand. And the Hedrick grandstand is in disrepair. And I've been able to secure $500,000 worth of funding to bring it back to its former glory. And it's fantastic. And I remember sitting in that grandstand as a kid, looking at the wood chopping and the equestrian events. And I've sat there with my son doing exactly the same thing, and I want him to be sitting there with his son, and hopefully Granddad will be there too, the three of us, and have that grandstand being just so well presented. You know. So, I mean, Cairns Show is very important to me and its longevity, and this is just a small part at the start of what I can do there.
Well, it's been lovely having you on the show, Sam, and we wish you every success in the upcoming election. Hopefully you'll come back and join us, and you may very well be the member for Cairns next time.
Well, thanks, Danae, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Always good to see you.
Always good catching up. Thanks, Sam.
Okay.
So there you have it, folks. Sam Marino, the LNP candidate for Cairns, coming up in the upcoming state election on the 31st of October. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, and we'll see you next week.